Showtime! So this time, not a lecture. You're spared me. I have with me someone to interview and talk about education and what the entire work structure is going to look like in the field of education, maybe over the next decade or so. His name is Aaron Sokol. He's a graduate of the University of California, Santa Barbara. He spent 5 years in the administration of the Oakland school system, and he's now just finishing up an MBA at Haas School of Business at the University of California in Berkeley, where he has focused his endeavors on public education, how to bring private sector methods to the realm of public education. And the fact that his name is Aaron Sokol, not coincidental. There is a relationship. So tell me, son, what are schools going to look like, you think, over the next decade or so? Are there going to be schools? Are kids going to get up in the morning and go to school and sit in a classroom with 30 kids? What do you think?
There's a lot going on out in America right now. The biggest online school effort, called K-12, right now being run out of South Carolina, offers 100,000 students the chance to go to school completely online. Now, that said, K-12 isn't doing very well in terms of social skills. Kids have a hard time learning how to interact with each other, how to work in groups, and how to accomplish simple things like making friends over the internet. So they're providing an important service for a very few students who maybe were getting homeschooled already or who had a lot of trouble socially, but as a wider solution, it's probably not going to work. What most folks agree on now is that technology is going to change the classroom the same way that it changed the office 15 or 20 years ago.
What's that mean? What do you think a classroom looks like in a few years?
When your grandfather went to work, in 1955, he probably had a secretary who would take a memo for him on a typewriter. He probably did a lot of his meetings face-to-face. When he needed to make a phone call, he would have to schedule it in advance. If he wanted to go and visit somebody and make a deal, he'd probably have to get on a train or a plane and fly to do business in person. These days, as you know, the office is completely digitized. Everything that people do in a professional environment, they can do on a computer, they can do with email or with a virtual call from one state to another.
But they're still coming to an office. They're coming to four walls, bricks and mortar.
So just because you have a computer in your office doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't come to the office at all. Some people do work from home, and some people do work on teams that are spread across the country or across the world. But most offices have found that it's beneficial to bring people together in a single location because of the connections that form between people informally. So you work next to somebody, you work down the hall, you're going to be learning a lot from them, you're going to be socializing with them, you're going to be exchanging information rapidly.
And that's probably especially important when you're talking about kids K through 12, because one of the most important things about school is not just learn reading and writing and arithmetic. You really have to learn how to socialize.
So the same thing that happened to offices 20 years ago is happening to schools now. So American schools are going through a revolutionary stage of digitization where principals, teachers, students, families are starting to realize that computers offer things that paper and textbooks just can't provide.
What do you mean?
So, as you know, a textbook doesn't talk to you. It doesn't show video. It can't understand what things you're learning and what things you're not. A textbook is just a set of words and pictures that passes from one student's hand to the next on a year-over-year basis. Well, traditionally, textbooks have been the main way that students learn outside of the classroom.
That's
Textbooks
true.
and paper handouts.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really how they pick up information when they leave. In the classroom, they traditionally interact with each other and with the teacher and with any number of printed or paper-based materials that the teacher may be using to supplement their instruction. So maybe a student will get a handout and he or she will do some math problems.
Okay.
Maybe she'll do a little bit of reading out loud in
So
class.
what comes next?
So computers are allowing teachers to deliver instruction that is individualized to meet the needs of each student. One of the hardest things about being a teacher is what's called differentiation. Differentiation means that every student in the classroom actually learns at a different pace. Some students are very good at math problems, while some students are good at English. Some students are fascinated by history, while some are very fast learners in science. It's hard for a teacher teaching a single subject to 30 kids to speed up the subject for some kids, to slow it down for others, and to concentrate where each student needs additional attention to understand what's being taught.
So you imagine that what education is going to be, you're still going to have a teacher, you're still going to have a school, individual classrooms, but each student is going to be learning at their own pace, I guess, and the teacher is really going to be just watching what they're doing on the computer.
So the cutting edge of innovation and instruction right now is what's called one-to-one student learning. Now, one-to-one in a traditional environment would mean that you had an individual teacher sitting with an individual student who can understand exactly where that student needs help and provide them with precisely the support that they need to move forward. Now, due to budget constraints, that just isn't possible in most environments. Most teachers are dealing with large groups of students in large classrooms. And as you know, those budget constraints are getting worse in a lot of situations and not better.
And that raises an issue. Some people say that part of what's happening to teachers today is they're being, in a certain sense, deprofessionalized. Instead of having a teacher who builds up skills and may teach 15, 20, 25 years, there's a move to say, let's bring people out of college, teach 2, 3 years, and then move on to whatever's next. Is that real? Is that really good? You think the direction things go in?
Well, you know, Teach for America has done some pretty incredible things for the American public education system. That said, however, they do not build a career pipeline in the way that teachers would traditionally think about working in education for their entire career. Teach for America offers students the chance to come out, get a master's in education, and work hard for 2 years to change a classroom or a school environment. But many Teach for America graduates move on to other jobs or graduate school after doing that 2 years of service.
Is there going to be a career called teacher in the next 10, 15 years?
I believe that there always will be a place for career teachers. Teach for America teachers, for the most part, are learning from career teachers who are running teacher teams or teacher initiatives in the schools that they're working in. And the older teachers will always have more classroom management experience, which is one of the hardest things about becoming a teacher. Now, that said, American education, unfortunately, is not able to fund the career position of a teacher in a way that makes it attractive for many students coming out of school.
That's misallocation of resources on a grand basis in America.
Absolutely. It's a huge problem right now, and we're not able to pay teachers, for example, in the same way we're able to pay firemen, which is unfortunately another disappearing profession.
We could. We could pay them the same way we pay Halliburton to build things that fall apart in Iraq, you know? That's some billions of dollars. Different story, probably a different discussion for a different day that you and I would never have.
The challenge that teachers and principals, educators face is doing more with less. That's the challenge that most of the public sector faces today in America. Standards are going up.
Right.
National legislation like No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top asks teachers to deliver stronger results.